Okay, welcome to day 2. It is exciting today. We are going to talk all about mindset, which is one of my strengths, which is something I absolutely love working on. It's something I work on every day. I had to work on it today, as today was a little more overwhelming with a lot of people at home, and I just had to reassure myself that I could actually do what I needed to do today. I'm just going to ask everybody to mute there. So it is so exciting to work on it. So even though I do things all of the time, I'm very public in certain aspects. There are certain things that I like to hold back from. And this morning with all of the commotion and stuff, I didn't want to show up live on a live meeting because I just didn't feel prepared. So even though we're going to work on mindset, know that we're always going to have to work on mindset. And mindset is it's kind of a sticky subject because people think once you understand it that the work is done, but it is not done. And a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are your mindset around your career. So what we don't always understand is our regular mindset could actually be affecting our career. It could be affecting our relationships in the world. It could be affecting a million different things to actually put us into this situation. So sometimes it's not the career, but our mindset towards the career that sets us apart and why it's not a good fit. So that's why I wanted you to go back yesterday and kind of reiterate, like, is it the job itself or is it you? Is it something that's in your environment that is preventing you from performing? So naturally, we're going to workflow into mindset to see if it's a mindset piece. So that's what we're going to go over today. And as you can see on this pretty slide, if you always have the can't mindset, nothing will happen. If you have the I'm possible mindset, things will start to happen. So if you always say, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I don't want to learn or any of that stuff, nothing positive is going to happen. You might have like the odd thing, but usually nothing positive is going to happen. So we really need to work on our mindset. Tomorrow, we will work a lot on routines and habits, and I will be putting systems into play for you guys to actually put that mindset into practice. So even though you can start shifting it in your head, those things are going to crawl back in. I get that sometimes too, where right before a deadline, like right before this challenge, I was like, oh, I'm not prepared. Nothing's good. I don't know that I can do this, but I know I can. So I had to shift my mindset again because it was just a hard day. It was a day when I had 2 teenagers being very teenagery, and it was like, oh, I don't think I want to do this anymore because my environment was creating that negative energy within myself. But once I put my practice and routines into play the next morning, I have a lovely planner that I will be showing you tomorrow that I use every day to put my positivity and my mindset shifts into my planner every day to remind me of those positive things, the things I'm grateful for, my positive affirmations, to just try and do that. So what we're going to do later on today is do a little more journaling, and then tomorrow we'll put those habits and stuff into play. So changing your mindset takes time. It is not something that you can just flip the switch. Yes, we're going to talk about flipping the script, but you can't just flip the switch that fast. You have to take time. It is like a habit. You have to continuously do it over time before it will actually eventually click in your head and it comes natural. So when we talk about habits tomorrow, we'll say that I need you to do 3 positive affirmations every day for 30 days before you can actually start to believe them. Now that seems like a long time, but it's actually a very short time when you think about all of the other habits you've built over your life. So this negative talk to yourself, which is natural for us women, which is kind of hard to say, but natural for us women not to believe in ourselves. So it's going to take all of those, for me, all of those 40 years to flip that switch into nothing but positive. So everything we learn today is going to propel you in the future as long as you put it into practice. So tomorrow we will learn how to actually put it into practice. We've already talked about the positive and the negative mindset. So positive mindset is learning from things. So when something major goes wrong, instead of saying it's the end of the world, or I can't believe this person did that, putting like, oh, that actually, I could do this instead next time, or I could ask them this way, maybe they'll understand. So maybe it was the language you used with that person that turned them negative because they didn't understand. So then you become negative. So you really want to reframe, but you also don't want to be a positive, like, I don't want to say, I like perky people because I've always considered perky, but that over perky person that is so positive that even in bad situations, it can have a dangerous effect. So you want to be positive, but you also want to be realistic. So watch your mindset. Negativity, you're going to have negative things happen. It's how you learn from them that will help you go forward. So reframing the words after that negative event is going to be how you can come out of that event faster. So for a lot of people who don't know me, I had suffered with PTSD. I always have the chance of it coming back if certain triggers, but I've learned a lot of tools to prevent that. And if I put those tools into play, nothing should happen, but bad things still happen. Last year, I lost a business partner. It was crushing. We were friends forever, but it just wasn't a good fit. And it wasn't until after that I reflected back that I seen how much of a bad fit it actually was, that I learned from that lesson. So I was no longer crushed by the partnership not being there. I was instead learning that going forward, these are things I have to put in place if I want to learn from those mistakes. So you probably won't see me with a business partner, and it's not that I'm against it. It's that I know that I can do this on my own. So I would rather hire a staff and go from there, which I do have lovely staff. And maybe on later this week, you'll meet Rebecca and possibly Jen. Jen is my VA. Rebecca is my full-time. She's our digital media coordinator. So she runs Alize a lot more. And I run the Melissa coaching, but she intermingles between both projects, both businesses. So you just want to watch how you're doing your stuff. So I always like to change your mindset. You really have to get to the root of the cause, which is why I put the tree. So I have been scared of spiders forever, and some people may have watched this. I think I've done a couple of lives. I atone the spider fear to when I was 9 months pregnant with my daughter, and I was nesting. I was up late at night. It was the same night that Michael Jackson died. I think it was like 3 a.m. And I was, okay, I'm tired. I think I'm going to lay back a little bit. And I looked up on the ceiling, and there was a spider this huge, and it was directly above me, and I froze. I had already had a slight dislike, but I froze. I could not move. I screamed for my husband. He literally had to lift me over to get the spider because he had to kill the spider because I wasn't going to be able to do anything. And internally, it made me go into labor. So it was kind of a good thing I was close to going into labor anyways. But I atoned my fear of spiders since then from that moment. So even though I had a dislike for them, I had like a traumatizing fear of them after that, that if it was even in the same room, I couldn't be in that room until it was killed. So eventually my kids have learned to take the spiders out of the room, but I have actually started working on my mindset to get over that fear of spiders. I'm not yet to the point where I can hold a spider, but I have been able to use a pot and a thing to move it outside. Or if it's not in a space that I could do that, I will unfortunately kill them. It's not that I'm against killing them or keeping them alive. It's if it's in the room, I certainly can't function for the full thing. So if you see me, don't do the joke. I have a couple of friends who like to pull those gags, those fake spiders. It's still something I'm working on, so please don't do that. But while I have the spider web here, is because our mindset stuff, yes, we have to get to the root of the cause to fix it. Sometimes they can be spiraling effects. So maybe it's not that you see the spider above you. Maybe it's something that somebody said at work to you and you get that one little ding. And that's what actually brings that somewhat unsatisfactory piece of your job. And then your boss says something. So then that spider web spills some more. And then maybe your whole career stuff is just a spider web, and it's the location that you work and not actually where you want to be working. So it's the same as your mindset. So maybe you're scared of spiders and you think it's one thing, but it's actually 100 other things that went into that one thing. So we want to spiral and get to the root. So if you don't understand where the root is, it's usually in like this spider web, and we have to untangle it to figure it out. And you're gonna laugh at why I have Santa here. Just one second. I have Santa here because I heard this brilliant mindset coach talk about the Santa Claus effect. And I never thought to teach from that perspective. So as much as we can flip the script and get our stuff going, if we don't get to the root of the cause, then we're only doing a Band-Aid. But we can get to the root of the cause faster than we think if we think of the Santa Claus effect. So if you grew up believing in Santa Claus, all of a sudden your world was crushed one day and then it was over. There was no more, okay, Santa's coming next year. You knew right then and there that he was no longer real. He was no longer real in your mind. You didn't have to do any tricks. You didn't have to do the positive affirmations. You all of a sudden knew Santa was not real. You were crushed. You dealt with it. You got over it. So if you have some fears that you can use the Santa Claus effect on, that is what we want to be getting past. So if I hear somebody saying that I'm too old to start over, I usually say, why do you feel too old to start over? Why do you feel that you have to be a certain age to be doing that? Why do you feel this? And we ask those questions to pull it out. And it might just be that one person said, well, why would you do that? And it's usually somebody close to you. And I hate to say that, but when we're wanting to go after a big change, like some of you are, it's usually the ones closest to you that are in shock that you want to do this change. So they're not the most supportive at first. Eventually, they can be the most supportive. I can tell you my husband wasn't super thrilled when I left nursing to do what I'm doing. It took a good 6 months for him to warm up and get into what I'm doing. And now he's my biggest cheerleader. Like if you are following me on Instagram, my latest reel, you'll see a little hand come out. That is my husband. He absolutely hates social media. So the fact that he's willing to put his hand out and help me just shows how much he knows that I needed that piece to complete that type of reel. I could have definitely come up with a different situation, but he helped me, which was absolutely amazing. So if you think of all your fears, which I think we're going to journal next, I want you to really be true and write them down. We'll work on the root causes in a little bit, but just write them down and then start thinking about where that came from, because that is what we're going to need. Is it just a root that we can work through and reframe our mind? Is it something that's justified? So obviously some people have fears that are justified. Some people have excuses that are justified. So if you have, well, for me, for my PTSD, it was a situation that was justified that I would be scared to walk in and do any of that nursing again, because I would feel unsafe because I was in an unsafe environment when my trauma happened. So going back into nursing or going back into that section, I would have to make sure that I really worked hard to make sure that my mindset and my emotions were right going in. Going in the next day would not be wise because I had a rational fear. So a lot of times when people are thinking of switching careers, their fears are not rational. There's something that they've told themselves for years or they've been told, and we can slowly work on changing those. The rational fear, you can't do that. No matter how much you work, you're going to have to go through therapy and stuff to work through that piece. So you really have to understand the root cause, whether it's a spider web or it's something that you can physically work, or is it something you can just flip the switch on like Santa Claus and get rid of it. So we are going to do a short journaling exercise to have you work and write down all of your fears. It should be on that list. I'm going to just bring it up on my phone so that I can tell you which sheet to work on. I can't wait until we have 2 monitors for this. So for this one, I want you to be working on this fears and excuses page in your workbook. So the fears and excuses page is we're going to write down all our fears. Later on, we're going to score them with intensity, because that intensity will let me know whether it's a rational or irrational thing. So when you submit them, we'll go through everything and we'll get back to you as to whether it was a rational or irrational. And obviously we do understand that some people may think that they're rational or irrational. We're not saying that it's definitely irrational or rational. We're just saying that the likelihood of us being able to work on this without going to outside help is what we can do. So I guess I need to reword that. So to you, whether they're rational or irrational would let us know whether we can work on them or if it's something that you need to see outside counsel for. Because if we're going to help you move forward with looking for a new job, then we need to know that we can actually help you, or if we have to look for somebody that can actually give us a little bit of assistance. So I will give you a couple of minutes here to do this. Okay, so I hope that was enough time. If not, we can certainly have more time at the end. You'll also see in your workbook something called problem discovery. So if you do feel like some of those fears, you're not sure if they're rational or irrational, it's called the problem discovery page. That is just something to work through the problem. Those prompts there are very helpful. We use that journal script on our kids. I've used it, a lot of different people. I got it from a psychologist years ago, and you can also get it in Canva, so it must be pretty popular. So I added that in there as a bonus for you to work through some of those problems. Our next topic is one of my favorite because it has actually changed my life in working on what I feel positive and negative, is flipping the script when I think something in my head. Although some of the negative things still come out. I think there was a time last week when my husband, because he's been working a lot on this as well, accidentally left the F word out in the middle of a poker game with my kids. It was like an at-home, like it's not illegal. It was just like a little poker game with the kids, and the way his stuff went, his mindset automatically went to anger because he kept losing. And we've been working really hard. And I know it sounds funny, but we're working really hard on keeping a positive aptitude because our son is predisposed to anxieties and stress. So neither him nor my husband can handle stress and anxiety. So they always think that the world is ending. So both of us have been really working on flipping our scripts to being more positive so that we can give that affirmation to my son, because in 4 years, he will be going to university, and this is a skill we want him to be able to do to handle it, because our fear is he always goes to the negative first. So we're working really hard on ourselves to make sure that we go to the positive first so that eventually he will. And it has been working, other than that one game where when he was losing, he just couldn't realize. So then if we're working hard on our positive and then the negative all of a sudden comes in, we have to see the environment around us as to what is dragging that negative back in. So yes, we are going to use all of these tools to go forward, but we also want to make sure that we understand that things can creep back in. We're going to have to use these tools over and over and over again. It is going to be like a lifelong thing. You think of your health as a lifelong thing. Being positive or having positivity is a lifelong thing, because the society is kind of negative. You turn on the news, you don't get positivity. You turn on social media half the time, you don't get positivity unless you're on say TikTok or sometimes Instagram. All you see is negative things. So you want to try and make sure that you're following people who are positive as well, so that that affirmation can go through your life. Because as who we surround ourselves with is usually what our mindset can also be. So I'm not trashing anybody if they want that type of lifestyle where everything is completely wrong. I used to have that lifestyle. That is a particular lifestyle that can be changed. So if you want your circumstances to change, you can't be expecting a handout. It is something you're going to have to work very hard at. So flipping the script is something that I learned a couple of years ago that has been working really well. So I'm exhausted, I need rest. It doesn't seem like a positive affirmation, but it is, because if I'm always saying, oh, I'm so tired, people are always going to feel pity on you when that is not the part that you're trying to say. You're just trying to say you're tired. So you want to make sure that you're giving them, like, I think I need to go have a rest, because then they know you're taking care of yourself. So if any of this sounds wrong, definitely chime in. So don't is the worst thing that we all say to our kids. And I still am guilty of this. Don't do that. I say that to my dog, don't do that. I have been really working hard on trying to say, I like it when you do it this way, or I like it if you would try it this way, or I like it when you say something like this. So really try and reframe it so that you're not always giving the negativity out. And I do apologize, as I realized through some of that speech, if I was in any way harming anybody or saying something that is hurtful to them. I do apologize. It's just the way my speech had gone. So, but what will they think? Instead of saying that, what do I think? That is the biggest thing that people think when they're trying to leave a job, is what will others think of me? But why should it matter what others will think of me? Why shouldn't it matter what I think of me? If I think it's a good thing for myself, I need to go after it. If I think of what they're going to think that I'm crazy for that idea, and then I'm not going to do that idea. So you want to make sure that you're flipping that script in your head. Because I want to leave time for a little bit of questions, we do have an activity sheet where I want you to take all of those fears and excuses, and I want you to see why they would be holding you back, and then put it into the flipping the script activity that should also be in your workbook, and try and flip it to a positive. So if I say I am scared of spiders, I can flip it to I have a fear of spiders that I am currently working on, or spiders have not been my friend in the past, but they will be my friend in the future. So if you can flip your script, if you need any help, we will be available via messaging all through the night. If you also need extra help, feel free to email us. You all have our emails and we will definitely do that. But I wanted to open it up to questions because I know yesterday we had a lot of questions that weren't there. If you want to just send the questions into the chat. If not, I will answer your questions if you send them to me via DM. So I'll leave that.